Hello everyone! As I continue to explore ways to flower garden designs effectively, I'm compelled to move to a less dense and more transparent look with vining as a linear component. This creates an exciting visual flow through the exuberant growing vine tip. So in order to create an open form design that has some transparency, which illustrates a very organic and natural look, I use what I like to call the Midollino Wire Vine as a support tool to embellish and showcase the power of growth. The ingredients you'll need to create a length of this double-ended vine structures are Midollino, aluminum wire, U-glue dash, Oasis metallic wire, bullion wire in silver, also green bind wire, and finally yarn, and I'm choosing to use the fresh shoot green. So basically, this is what I want to create, something like this. So you're gonna start out with Midollino. We just only need one. And then you're gonna take your, you can use either regular aluminum wire or diamond wire or whatever you have, and it may be of any color because we're gonna cover it with the shoot green yarn. So you can use up all your leftover wire that way, all colors. And then I'm gonna go a little bit longer than the length of the Midollino. So I'm gonna straighten that out. And I'm gonna put the Midollino so that there's wire beyond it on both ends by maybe 6 inches on either side. And then I'm gonna take also the bind wire so that I'm gonna run the bind wire to go actually longer than the aluminum wire. So just maybe a couple inches, another inch longer than that. And the reason for that is I'm wanting to transition the thickness of all the components, the wires, so that it gets thinner and thinner to the end, because the whole idea is to kind of get a tendril-like feel on the both growing ends. So at this point, what I'm going to do is take just a half a tab of U-glue, and I'm gonna gather it together through the middle. So what I'm gonna do now is take the bullion wire. So this is very much like the Midollino extender. I'm gonna put these all together and just wrap it just loosely around so that they hold together, so that you don't have to hang on to it as you're doing the final wrap with the yarn. So I'm gonna go to this end, just closing off where one ends. And so now at this point, what we're gonna do is take the metallic wire, and you're gonna take the metallic wire, and I'm gonna cut it so that maybe there's 12 inches. But what I'm gonna do is fold it in half with a stagger, meaning that one end should be longer than the other in the half so that it tapers off to only one. And then, it starts with a 2 and tapers off to only 1. Close this end up really nice and tight. And this piece here, you're gonna actually attach it to the end of the aluminum wire going on to the bind wire. That section there, you're gonna actually attach that to it, so that then you basically transition from the combination of Midollino and aluminum wire and bind wire, reduced down to just the aluminum wire and bind wire, and now down to the double-ended staggered metallic wire to the end. So there it is right there, so that you really basically have thickest through the middle, right here, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it becomes just very, very fine and thin with a metallic wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that Also to the other side. So now we finished both ends so that they're double-ended vine. What we're gonna do is just sort of fold this in just for the ease of just managing. So I'm just gonna fold this in so that it's much easier to, so it's not like a whip, and it's much easier to work with. So I can concentrate on starting at this end right here. So what I'm gonna do is now take another U-glue dash and just add it to a spot maybe 3 or 4 inches in from the end, right there. And then I'm gonna start my yarn treatment. Now we've done something like this already, haven't we, with the Midollino extender. It's really the same thing. It's just that what we're creating here is something that's just much, much thinner. And in this case, actually on the very tip, I'm adding on actually a half a dash. Actually, I want to make it quarter dash. I should have done that to begin with. I'm just going to take away that extra so that it doesn't bulk it up. So a quarter dash at the very end so that we can really literally start the vining that end with it glued so that it doesn't come apart. And then we just work our way down. And this is one, unlike the Midollino extender, you can't triple ply and quadruple ply because what you want is a the thinnest wrap that you can have, because the intent of this is not to bulk it up, but to give it more strength, but it's really kind of wanting to mimic the growth of nature so that the growing tip is very fine and it transitions to a little bit thicker into the older growth, and it just gets thicker and thicker until you have a main stem that is much stronger. That's really the kind of the feel that you want to create. So you're really mimicking what happens actually in nature. So, you know, this is why I really believe in some of my mechanics that are man-made mechanics, that we really do observe how things grow in nature and try to mimic its effect as closely as possible. I think by doing this, our structure that we build, the man-made structure that we build, that you work with the natural product, they marry each other so beautifully, and one sort of disappears into the other. That's really the effect that we're trying to get with this particular mechanic, is that it's no longer just a support trellis system, but it really truly does disappear into the arrangement. The finer that you can do this finessed, the more skillful you are at mimicking the power of nature. So at some point you could start to spin it. That's why we have it kind of folded up so that you can get a little bit more efficient with the way this gets done. So I'm just finishing up. I'm just winding down here to the very tip. So what I want to do is actually, I want to apply like a 1/4 strip of U-glue dash right at the tip. It's the thinnest part, and I want to have that on there before we wrap this up. So I'm gonna go, and here we are. We're just gonna go and do this round, round, round. Just spin it around so that it's nice and tight. And then we're getting closer and closer to that U-glue dash. So now we're just gonna go over that U-glue dash and just really tight around it until you cover up most of the wire. And how I finish it is basically, I'm gonna go in here and just cut this, well, wait a minute, with scissors. And I'm gonna finish off with a bullion, so that actually it ends off with a bullion, just kind of wrapping that last bit of yarn so tight so that it ends up that becomes a tip. So I'm just gonna cut that off right there. And again, I used the wrong tool. We want the scissors to cut that yarn so that this sort of becomes the end. So it's really nice and thin at the end. But you can manipulate it because it's all wired all the way to the tip. But you can see how finessed this vining kind of appearance of this vine is, that you can shape it like the hands of nature. That's kind of what you want to do. so that you can get that beautiful growing tip that could be what manipulates the real fresh vine that you work into the arrangement. So I just want to quickly show you how it works. So in this setup, actually I used this setup for one of my YouTube Live just recently, but I actually have some of these, there's actually a couple, like a two set of double-ended Midollino Wire Vine support in this. And so what I did was just simply take a vine, such as this clematis vine, and as you can see, if you were designing with this, there's no spine to it. It's very, very wimpy. But that's the purpose of this, is that it allows you to sort of weave your vine onto it and let some of that little tip kind of grab onto it so that it then starts to flow upward like they do as they grow. So this one also, there's two pieces here that is in water, with a structure like this, with this vine structure support. And so now you have a very airy kind of a set to start with that you can put flowers in. You don't have to go really heavy with flowers, so that you can get a much more transparent gardeny design. That's the whole idea behind this, is it gives you a good support for your vine to be able to stand up and give you this beautiful window and showing the growing tips, so that it just makes the design come alive, because it's not a static design with just a lot of flowers sitting on top of each other, but that it has a growing tip with these vines supported like this to create this beautiful window. So anyways, I would definitely encourage you to check out the YouTube Live tutorial I recorded this past weekend. In it, I demonstrate how to work with these Midollino wire vines into a design start to finish. This mechanic really allows you to flower any gorgeous garden design with a feel that it's still growing and it's vibrant. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for future tutorials.